Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
This is the New Leaf Podcast.
How are you supposed to open a podcast? Like, say hi and my name
Sticking
is...
a key in it.
You stick a... Oh, there you go. All right, well, hey, everybody. This is Tyler, and I am going to stick a key into the mic, and welcome to the New Leaf Podcast.
Good job.
I'm so impressed. I cannot believe I didn't know that you could unlock a podcast with a key. I'm very impressed.
Must be from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, actually. Sora used that Keyblade, and it's changed my life ever since.
Anyways,
Holy crap!
We're already got this thing screwed up. All right, so we got the full crew: Tyler, Tanner, Taylor, and myself, Christian, which you've already heard from. We also have Kevin from GamerHusbands Radio.
What's going on, people?
Wow,
AKA Shonuff71 on Twitter, and just about all the other platforms too.
So this is the first experienced podcaster we have on the podcast. Not saying anything.
Well,
bad about...
I wouldn't say experience. I've only been doing it for like a couple of years. I am not
That's a
part
long
of the.
time.
well, I'm not part of the original crew of Gamer Husbands. They've gone through about 3 changes. One of the original hosts is still on. That would be Sam, aka GHR Superman. But the rest of us are all fairly new to the podcast. So this is we're on Gen 3 right now.
How long has GamerHusbands been going on for?
It has been going on for, I think, this past March marked the 7th year.
Dang.
Of GamerHusbands Radio.
Dang.
That's
the
awesome.
The original crew, Sam, Alfred, Scott, and Alan. Those are the 4 gentlemen rather that started the podcast. I'd been listening to them since. Man, I started listening to them. I'll put it this way: I started listening to them in 2007.
Dang.
Oh man.
So yeah. But I only joined the show within the past year and a half, 2 years.
So what kind of stuff do you guys talk about on GamerHusbands Radio?
Well, if you listen to the original crew, we're always a family-friendly podcast, although the some of the topics were not always family-friendly. But now that we're on, now that I've joined the show, we're primarily a gaming news podcast. We'll hit like a couple points of interest. Me and the rest of the co-hosts, we have varying gaming interests. So we pull a news article that interests us, and we just kind of jump on each individual article, kind of break it down, and have a discussion about it. Currently, one of the other members of the show is a good friend of mine. He is Joe, aka Trader Joe. He is our resident cheap gamer. So if you're familiar with CAG,
Yep.
Joe is our version of that. The guy sniffs out gaming deals like a bloodhound tracking a fox. It's amazing what he can dig up. He is also the only member of the show to have purchased his HD television with games that he traded in.
What?
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I was with him that day. He literally took in a garbage bag full of games into Best Buy and traded them in on a new television set.
Wow, it's like the gaming version of extreme couponing.
Yeah, very exactly. Man, I tell you, he used to like just before Black Friday, from a few years ago, we had this business called American Video. It was a fairly small chain, but they went out of business. They followed not too long after by Blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
And I'm calling them American Video, but that's probably not the name. The proper name is probably escaping me. But
Hollywood
they had
Video? Possibly.
Hollywood Video.
Got it.
Yeah.
Hollywood Video. That was my home away from home. I swear.
Me too.
Yeah. We went. It was the 2008, and all of the GameStop was doing this redunculous trade-in deal, and they were giving their trade-in values for whatever reason were just way off whack. It was just before Christmas, and he gave me a call. He said, "Kev, we gotta go on this Hollywood Video run. I've got a list of games where we're not gonna a minor investment is going to yield a whole lot of trade-in credit, because there was a whole bunch of games that were coming out that I couldn't figure out how to pay for."
Oh, did you go get the liquidation sale from Hollywood Video and trade them in?
Liquidation, and it was games that you wouldn't necessarily think of, like Call of Duty for the Wii was Hollywood Video was selling that for like $3, and GameStop was giving you $17 in store credit for it, and that was not including your GameStop, whatever they call that club membership thing. That really isn't a club membership, because their points to the amount of money you spend is just so ridiculous. But basically, long story short, I turned about $80 worth of bargain bin purchases into about $250
Oh my gosh!
worth of GameStop credit. I think Joe, he spent a little bit more money than that, and he wound up with something like $450.
That's awesome! Oh my gosh! I wish I would have thought of that. Because I was a kid when Hollywood Video closed down.
I was like more than a kid, but
that was a sad day, because there was one right next to our house, and so I would always drive over there.
Yeah,
and,
that Game Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
that was like, I mean, we still talk about that. We'll probably be talking about that, telling our grandchildren about it or something.
But I've listened to a few episodes of GamerHusbands Radio, and not a whole lot, but you guys do kind of have a different perspective on things. Seems like you have a broad, between all you guys on the podcast, kind of have broad differences in opinions sometimes, but it's cool because you have kind of a good discussion between all that. So it's interesting, even though you guys are all way older than I am. I still appreciate it.
Yeah, we usually just any opinion that Christian has, we'll just try to talk louder than him, and so he's probably
my voice cracking.
So we're very happy. He's probably very happy that there's someone that actually listens and is civil.
Hey, not every podcast.
Well, I mean, you haven't heard the off recording conversations that we've had. Sometimes they can get a little heated. It's 9 times out of 10 has nothing to do with gaming, of course. But
right.
At the end of the day, we're all friends. Also forgot to shout out our newest member. That would be Chris Brown, aka Lefty Brown,
Yep.
who also does.
Lefty, what the
He's-
heck? I
he's
have not
been
heard that
around.
name in like years.
He's been around the block for a while.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I just had not heard that name.
It's Left Hook for Rihanna, right? Is that
It
you
was
talking about?
Lefty.
No, it's
Oh.
Lefty Brown. He
was-
does the Married Gamers podcast
Okay,
with his
no one
wife
gets it, Tyler.
Kelly.
It's okay.
Sorry, yeah, I was just trying.
No one gets it, Tyler. It's okay. I
Yeah,
understand.
Lefty. I remember him on the Hardcore Christian Gamer forums like way back in the day.
Yeah, like 9 years ago, way back.
That was when me and Taylor first met. Good memories. So
So
we're gonna talk about PlayStation. We're gonna wrap it up. Since Kevin is a PlayStation guy, I figured he could give us some
Insight.
interesting insights. Good word, Taylor. Good
Thank you.
word.
Okay, I will do what I can. I do not have the camera, and there are a couple of features that I have not fiddled with or do not fiddle with on a consistent basis. But I'm familiar with how they work and how they operate. But
So
I will do what I can.
Does anybody here know about the camera?
what do you want to know about it?
I don't know, just like what it is. I guess that's kind of a testament to how little they support it. Maybe I don't know. I feel like a lot of people diss on the Kinect, but I feel like it was good on Microsoft's part to include that with the console, at least initially, because there's a lot of aspects of the console that are, when it first came out, they were necessary for it to function, but now not so much. Really, the only thing that it's necessary for, if you wanted it to, would be the Xbox on, Xbox off, and all that stuff. So, but nowadays they've kind of added a lot of things to work around some of the Kinect functionality, but it's still very convenient. And like I've mentioned before, I would not give it up. We've got another Xbox downstairs that does not have a Kinect, and if I just want to sit down on the couch and watch a movie or something, I don't want to pick up a controller. It's annoying not being able to control it with your voice. So
First world problems.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah, I'll say one thing for Sony is that their peripherals they're always based off of, at least when it comes to their consoles, they're always based off whether or not you as a consumer want to partake in them. Whether it's Move, whether it's the camera, because let's not forget, the camera was really supposed to be included in the PS4. The PS4 was going to be knocking on that $500 mark
right.
at E3 2 years ago, or it was a year ago. And they pulled the camera out last minute in order to undercut the Xbox by $100. And the reason that they were able to do that was because the peripheral was not integral to the experience that you're going to get with the console. Microsoft made the decision to include the Kinect, build the system around the Kinect peripheral. And that's why they had they've been having an issue withdrawing that peripheral from the unit as far as the smoothness of your experience goes. The PlayStation, the camera was an add-on. It was supposed to give you some experiences that you can opt for or opt out. It's not going to change your core experience. And that's a double-edged sword in and of itself, because it does not really encourage development of software to implement that peripheral, whereas Microsoft, everybody that was going to make a game, knew that everybody was going to have a Kinect. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I kind of appreciate the, it's there if you want it, as opposed to it's here and you're going to get it whether you like it or not.
But what would make
That's
someone
just my own
want
personal preference, though.
What would make someone want to have the camera?
I would say probably the ease of broadcasting. broadcasting on the PS4 is super simple. I don't know how it is on the Xbox. I've never tried
I
it.
touched on that last week, I think, or week before. No, week before last, I think I touched on that.
Okay.
Yeah, you were saying how easy it was, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I pretty much what you just said is exactly what I said. Like, I mean, that just proves a point.
Yeah,
So-
you just hit a button as if you pre-link your Twitch or your Ustream account through the settings, and you just hit a button, and bam, you're streaming. There are options that allow you to allow for text, allow for video, meaning that the camera is going to be, if you want the camera facing you, you can. All that is done, on a little preview screen, and you hit OK, and you're streaming. It's and I'm not a streamer, so that's probably the main reason why I did not feel a need to get the camera. It may I may decide to pick one up once some fighting games start coming out on the PS4 that I'm interested in. I can see that being a big part of the fighting game community. That ease of streaming and being able to jump in with people and making online tournaments a whole lot easier, that type of thing. But as of right now, I just don't have a need for the peripheral as of yet.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was talking about with the streaming. Like before the podcast started, I kind of talked about how when you stream on the Xbox, it's almost like the Kinect tends to slow your service down.
Yeah, it's definitely way
even if you have
faster without the Kinect turned on.
Right, even if you have like a phenomenal, upload speed, download speed. I mean, because mine is pretty good, but still, I find my Kinect, I find my Twitch when I'm streaming with the Kinect. If I go back to check on, whatever. The Kinect has caused my Twitch to lag so much that it disconnects me from my chat, and also it just is lagging overall.
Well, that may not be the Kinect's fault though, because you have to remember that Xbox One is running several OSs in the background all the time.
Right.
You got
but when I don't use the camera though, it doesn't. It never. I don't ever lag ever, and my chat stays up, and I get to see what people say to me and everything.
Really?
Yeah. So I don't know if it might just be my connection, maybe, but
I was gonna say that's just shocking. Like if, because I've experienced that a little bit too, and I personally love having a camera. Like, I feel like it's a better experience for the viewer to like see.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. And so definitely is a shocker that. I mean, it makes sense, like, as he was saying, like, from an operating system standpoint, like, you're using a camera, that's going to draw a whole lot of, like, CPU, like, the processing speed. Like, it's going to go to that, too. So I can understand how it bogs things down from the hardware side of it, as well as just, I don't quite get why it slows down Twitch like it does, but
well, the Kinect draws a lot of power anyways, and that's why they've constantly been updating things to where it uses less and less of the CPU, and that might be some of it. The PlayStation camera probably doesn't pull. It doesn't require
the Kinect is got a lot more going on with it tech wise than the PlayStation camera.
Yeah,
I've never gone into the nitty gritty intricacies of the differences between the two, but the Kinect it can sense your pulse or something. It's got a whole lot of things running inside of it itself. And correct me if I'm wrong, but did they change the manufacturing process to remove because I thought it was supposed to have an independent processor.
I don't know about that.
You're the first I've heard of that, so that'd be something we can look into.
I thought that was what it was supposed to do because of all the different things it was keeping track of. But I could be wrong. I seem to recall reading something like that on IGN or some major website prior to the systems coming out. But
well, if as you were talking about earlier, just the camera being for the PlayStation being an add-on, that would sounds like that's a huge benefit compared to the Xbox if that's the case, because if without that so much processing power, whatever, like being used by the Kinect, you don't have that on the PlayStation camera, which would make the experience a lot more enjoyable in that regard. So I think that'd be a plus for PlayStation users.
Right.
It is,
yeah.
but it's also, like I said, it's that double-edged sword, because if people don't adapt that peripheral, I mean, look at the Move. I mean, the Move, I have a complete Move set. I think I probably paid like $20 for 2 moves, 2 nunchucks, and a charger, because nobody bought them.
Yeah, that's super cheap. I was gonna say
nobody was interested in them, because everyone was basically piggybacking on what the Wii had done, and they wanted to get that lightning in their own individual bottles, just like Nintendo did with the Wii, and it just did not pan out that way. So there's a plus and a minus to it. The plus is, the consumer makes the decision, and it doesn't hamper their experience, their core experience with the console. But on the other hand, it also means that you may not see a whole lot of software, because the company, the manufacturer has to say, okay, this is why you need to make games that will accommodate this peripheral. And the third parties are going to look around and say, okay, who's adopted it? Who's buying it? Well, nobody's buying it.
Right.
Well, why do you want us to include this? That these things cost us money. And
Right.
if people are not buying the peripheral, then we're wasting money implementing that functionality into it. So,
well, still Microsoft did do that, but they still failed, because how many Kinect games are there? There's like 3 or 4, and they're all just subpar. Like nobody plays them. And
I've heard the Disney the Disney one is supposed to be pretty good. Where you're what was that Disney that instrumental Disney
Fantasia.
Yeah, I've heard that Fantasia is supposed to be pretty good. But
that's one out of how many games have come out for the Xbox since it's been out, and even the games that weren't Kinect specific, some of them implemented like voice commands and different things in there, but it just wasn't something that was prominent. And so it was kind of, I don't know where it broke down, but everybody who had the system for 6 months had a Kinect, and there was just nothing being done with it.
So unless you had fitness, unless you used it for that, then that's a great utilization of that.
That is a good, right? And
I mean, here's the thing. I'll say this one last thing, and I'll stop yapping. But it is the manufacturer's responsibility when they bring out a peripheral or an add-on to show you why you need this. Nintendo did that with the Wii, with Wii Sports. It was their blessing and curse, because Grandma and Grandpa bought the Wii, and they had Wii Sports, and they didn't go back for anything else.
Right.
Yeah. It is incumbent on the manufacturer to show you why you need this peripheral. So I think if Microsoft and Sony with the Move, Microsoft with the Kinect, go to those in-house developers and say, we need you guys to come up with some innovative gameplay ideas that's going to show folks why they have to have the Kinect, why they have to have this PlayStation camera, and put those games out and market them and say, this is why you need it. And if the people like it, they're going to buy it. And the third party is going to see, wow, look at the attach rate, for this PlayStation camera. Well, the Xbox One already has the camera in the box, so we know everybody's going to have one. I think both of those companies failed in that aspect. They didn't tell the consumer why you need this camera.
Yeah.
Sony has a different way of doing their peripherals. You know, some people dig it, some people don't. Microsoft, you know, I think the biggest problem with the Kinect with them was that Sony was able to pull the camera out of the package last minute because it was not fully integrated into the console experience.
Right.
To your point, like there's definitely something like I went out and for PlayStation 2, Time Crisis 3 was on PlayStation 2, and you had to buy the gun and the whole deal. And when I got a hold of that, like it was just one of those things where I wanted a game with a gun, like, and it happened to be Time Crisis, which I'd played in arcades. It was awesome. Like saving up for that or getting it, I forget what happened. I don't know how I got it, but it ended up I think I paid for it, and it's either that or a gift. I just can't remember. But that was one of the big, like, huge experiences was I wanted to play Time Crisis, and the fact that I could use a gun to do it made the game so much cooler. But
Tyler, were you a disturbed child? I want a game with a gun.
Dude,
No,
I'm
we just
a-
like violence. That's all.
I'm a kid who grew up with guns. That's
Hey, what's wrong with being violent, Christian?
Just
Yeah, we
saying.
grew up with violent cartoons that
I-
are
when
fun
I was a-
and enjoyable.
Tom and Jerry is what Tanner's
Looney
referring
Tunes.
to.
Yeah, no.
I mean, I
The,
took a stick and pretended it was a gun, but I didn't be like, I want a real gun on my video game.
He was like, I take this stick. Yeah, it's okay. It may be a fake gun, but I want to listen to death metal. That's
Right? Yeah, he said that. He's
that's-
disturbed.
but
By the way, I feel you on that gun because I have the it's for PlayStation 3 or is it PlayStation? No, PlayStation 2. They had it's just like Time Crisis, Vampire Rain, Vampire something or other. I have that sitting on my shelf in my game room. One of the most accurate gun peripherals ever, even by today's standards. I didn't have the Time Crisis, but I had the Vampire one. I forget what they call it. I'd have to go into my game room to look at it. But yeah,
there's like
I feel
House
you on
of the
that.
Dead. There's like tons of different.
Yeah.
But what to that point is my whole point was that they had a product and they had a game that were both awesome together, and like it, so it sold. At least, I mean, it may not have sold off the charts, but in my mind, that sold it to me as soon as I saw it. Like it was like something I have to have because that just makes so much sense. Whereas there's nothing that I can tell, especially on Xbox side, that is just like, holy cow, I've got to have Kinect for this reason, other than fitness. Would be the
record
only
that.
what?
And the record feature.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like as from like a game standpoint of like there's nothing that makes me want to just say like, oh, I can use this.
It's
with
not
this.
integrated into any game or app enough to be really useful.
There's no killer app for it. There's no killer game. Like if they put Time Crisis in Xbox, I'd probably buy it because that's the same experience that I had back then. I can have again, and like have that with friends over would be sweet. Just having a couple guns and doing that whole thing would be a blast. But it doesn't seem like they're moving that direction at all toward using the Kinect for that reason.
All right, it's a lot of talk for something we didn't know anything about, but
That's right.
let's move on to the PlayStation TV. What is
Okay.
it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're the actual PlayStation guy. I got a little bit that I know, but since you're the PlayStation man, I'll let you take control.
Okay, well, my experience is probably going to parallel or be close to your experience with it, possibly because I don't own that either. My buddy Trader Joe, my co-host, brought his PlayStation TV over, and I got a chance to fiddle with it. Basically, the long and short of it is it's a PlayStation Vita that you plug into your TV. You can utilize the DualShock 3 to play your games with it. There was a recent update, firmware update that allows DualShock 4 compatibility with it. It runs off the same storage format as the Vita, so you're going to be paying ridiculous amounts of money for those proprietary storage cards. But I think it's big. The downfall on the system, and this falls firmly at Sony's doorstep, is one, it really wasn't marketed that well, and because it wasn't marketed that well, it lacks like some major, because it's also a streaming device. It lacks some major streaming services like Netflix. Netflix is not on the
Really?
PlayStation TV. And I think that it's like you've got Netflix on the Vita, but you don't have it. You don't have it on the PlayStation TV.
Yeah, if I remember when it was coming out, they were acting like it was supposed to rival like a Roku box or whatever
It was
the
a
Apple
Roku box that could play PlayStation games. That's exactly how it was being billed as. And yeah, it does PlayStation games, but its streaming is not so hot. I haven't tried the streaming, but some of the reviews I've read on the product have said that, well, if you're not using a hardwired connection, you might have some problems. But again, the biggest downfall to the unit itself is its lack of like big time mainstream streaming apps like Netflix. I don't even know if they have Hulu Plus. I would like to think that they would, but I'm not even sure on that. And again, there may have been some updates to this that I'm not aware of because again, I don't own the unit. But that was its biggest drawback after launch, is that it just did not have those core apps that every streaming device needs.
That's interesting. That's because I remember when it was being advertised, that was how it was advertised as. So that's really odd that it wouldn't have those. I mean, even if it had it now, it's odd that it would not have those at launch. Kind of makes it irrelevant right out of the gate.
Yeah. My interest in getting the unit was my wife does a lot of travel for her job. And sometimes if my vacation times line up, I'm able to go. So while she's doing her seminars and meetings and whatnot, I can be in the hotel, plug in the PlayStation TV and play some games until she comes back. Also, another feature of the PlayStation TV is if you leave your home console in standby mode and you're able to connect, all of your digital content can be played through the PlayStation TV from your home PS4 console. So that's pretty cool in and of itself. But again, that's all based on how strong your internet connection is.
Right.
So, in hotel Wi-Fi,
Not very good internet usually out of a
experiences may
hotel.
vary.
Yeah.
But that's still pretty convenient though. I mean, if you go on, if you say you go to a relative's house or something and you stay out of state, you can take that with you, and you have your own room. You can always, I don't know. It sounds like it would be very convenient for me, I feel like.
There's something cool that like he was talking about, like the streaming of the games and just being able to play games on that are, even if they're meant for mobile on a TV, is a huge plus to me. Because as much as I like staring at my phone all day, I want to be able to play a game on something that like big and I can see it, and I don't have to like squint. But I was reading about the PlayStation TV, and it said that I just caught a glance that it doesn't actually produce like 1080p video on the like through the stream and stuff. It may only be like 720, which could be a potential downer for some people.
Well, it's just a portable device, so
right.
But still, I mean, just the fact that could turn some people off to it.
Yeah, especially since like it's possible to get like a mobile game with 1080p nowadays.
Yeah.
If you have the phone for it, but I'm trying to think if there was anything else that caught my interest about it. I think it's a cool device. If it was a lot cheaper at $100, it's not worth it.
You can find it on some there. I know there have been some liquidation sales on it. I don't. Sony hasn't stopped supporting it yet. Joe located some deals on the PlayStation TV. They were going out for like $30, $30 or $40 by was it? It might have been eBay stores. Might have been blowing them out. There was some major online retailer was blowing them out for a ridiculously low amount of money, which is actually based off of the streaming functionality is probably the price it should have been, considering that it doesn't have, Netflix and possibly Hulu and, a lot of those mainstream core streaming services.
All
The
right.
good news is that can possibly be changed with an update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, not many people I feel like would adopt something like that if it was billed as that, but didn't actually offer that right out of the gate. So let's move on to some PlayStation exclusive apps, which the only ones I could find, if this is wrong, let us know, were the PlayStation View and Spotify. And Spotify is kind of a recent thing. I thought, I seem to remember Xbox had a lot more exclusive apps than just 2, but I may be remembering wrong. Been a while since we talked about that.
I've used Spotify on PlayStation. That used to be Spotify replaced. I can't remember if it was called PlayStation Music or Sony Music or whatever their music service, subscription service was. On Sony side, they ended that and they brought on Spotify as the replacement for it. I use the free version of Spotify on my PlayStation 4 every now and then, and it's pretty cool. If you're running, bounties on Destiny, missions that you've done a bazillion and one times before, it kind of adds a little extra something to hear whatever your favorite band or
so it actually runs like in the background.
It runs in the
behind whatever
background.
else you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah, I told you that.
I know, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast. So, but yeah, that would be super cool, and I wish Xbox would do that, because Xbox Music, I don't understand the point of having a subscription for it, because I have Spotify, so I already pay the subscription for that.
Right.
So it'd be nice to just go ahead and put that on my console rather than paying subscription to Xbox Music or Pandora or Last.fm or whatever else Xbox has. I think Spotify is probably the best out of all of them, so
Oh, definitely.
I would rather have that on the Xbox. So that is cool. And I remember on the original Xbox, you could rip CDs onto the hard drive and play that in the background. Well, not all the time, but certain games.
You could do it on 360 all the time.
Yep.
Oh, right, that's right. You could do it on 360 all the time.
Yep.
So, yeah, I wish the new consoles did that, because it is, like you said, Destiny is super boring, running around trying to do that stuff, especially if you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually like I'll take a Bluetooth speaker or something upstairs or run it through my computer, but it's not the same as all the audio coming from one direction.
All right. And
you listen
it's
to
nice.
One Direction? That's kind of okay.
No.
I'm
gonna have to edit that out. I'm gonna have to edit that out so there's no confusion.
No, you leave that.
I think it's cool too, because PlayStation gave the ability, like when I'll play music in my or my Spotify when I'm playing Battlefield Hardline. So, if I want my game audio to be a little louder than my music, then so be it. Sony gives you the option to change the volume levels between everything. So that was really something I thought was pretty convenient.
Mhm.
So
I was looking at while we were talking about the PlayStation camera, I pulled it up on my computer, just the kind of the PlayStation's like main like site for it or whatever, and I noticed that there is Share Factory on the PlayStation, which it may it may be, it's not an exclusive in the sense that Xbox has the upload studio.
We talked about
no,
Share Factory.
yeah, we talked
we?
about that. Yeah,
Oh, well, never mind then. Go listen to our prior podcast.
It was like
It was awesome.
It was like 2 weeks ago, Tyler.
Dude, I haven't been in the podcast for
he might have been gone that week.
No, I'm
actually.
pretty sure he was here that week.
I don't remember. It was too long ago. I can't remember what happened last night.
I
So
don't know. Me neither. So what about PlayStation View?
PlayStation View is basically their version of cable. It is intended to be for those who have cut the cable TV line and are trying to, get something to supplement it. I had the PlayStation View payment plans up, but for whatever reason, I think let me see if I can bring it back up again.
So it's not like the Xbox TV where it just runs through a like DirecTV or something. It's actually its own.
No,
separate
it's its
service?
own thing.
Oh, okay.
It can stream to supporting mobile devices, your PlayStation 4. I think it's on PlayStation 3 as well. Let me see if I can bring it up here. But
So is it like? Does it have like the stream? Well, I guess it wouldn't have like Netflix and that stuff because that's separate apps. But
no,
it
it has
like,
channels. It's just like your cable subscriber. They have channels, like they have Comedy Network and
so it'd probably be more like
Adult Swim and all that stuff like that.
So
it'd
do you
probably
think it'd have ESPN on it as well, or would that be separate because of that may be an app on PlayStation? I don't know.
Well, I don't. It'd probably be on there. I'm like, I don't have a PlayStation. I don't know what it is, but from what it sounds like it's kind of like the Sling TV service.
Yeah,
where you
it's
pay
very
the
much
service
very
and you
much
just kinda,
like Sling TV.
It's like an a la carte deal. You just
Yeah.
kind of pick which channels you want to use. That's good because I don't have TV either, and even if I had some kind of service, I probably wouldn't watch it very often. But I watch Netflix and stuff like that. But for like in this, like most people, I guess now are kind of moving away from paying like satellite or cable and all that stuff.
yeah,
Like I know, I mean, it's probably a ratio of 10-1 people that I know that have cable or satellite that don't. So it's a smart move on their part, something that I think Xbox maybe should have had. Has PlayStation had the View since the PlayStation 4 released?
No, View came out launched this year.
Oh, okay. I think Xbox has Sling TV, so that might be its.
Right now, the
version.
supporting devices are only PS3 and PS4. You download the app, and basically, it becomes it's like your what you would get off of your cable box. You can store up to, I forget how all of the shows will store on a DVR up to a certain point, and I forget how much. I forget how long that is, and you can select your favorite channels and whatnot. As far as plans go, the plans, and this is not everywhere. View is not available everywhere, but for areas that it is available in, here's a list of channels. You got CBS, Cozy, Fox, NBC, Telemundo, AMC, Animal Planet, Fox News, CNN, Destination America, DIY Network, E Entertainment, Esquire, Food Network. There's a whole bunch of them. USA, VH1.
Sci-fi.
Those are some pretty big stations.
Yeah, MTV, Spike. They don't have Oh yeah, they have Sci-Fi Network and they have the Science Channel.
History
It sounds
Channel.
like regular. It sounds like regular old cable.
Yeah, that's
well, you pick
pretty much what it
which
is.
channel you want to subscribe to, right?
Yeah, and they have there are 3 subscription plans. Access gives you 50 great channels of live TV. I'm just reading directly off this website. Of live TV, movies, and sports. That's $49.99 a month or $50. Core plan includes sports channels and also access to local sports. That's $60, and then you have Elite, which let's see, Elite Core. I guess they start getting into however they define. Elite gives you everything, including your what they're calling local sports channels. I don't see a big and the amount. I'm sorry, the amount of channels that you get access to depends on what package you get. Like the access, you get a lot of what you would find off of a basic cable. Core gives you some of those. They're not like premium channels like HBO and Showtime, but they're those like Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2. That's a part of the core plan. And then when you go to Elite, that gives you everything like the Golf Channel, NBC Golf Channel, and there's like a couple other sports channels here.
So each,
That's awesome.
like you pick a plan and it just gives you certain channels you can access.
You get pick a plan,
See,
you get
it
certain
was like,
channel.
I thought it was like you choose. So you choose like the 20 channel plan. You actually go and pick which 20 channels you want. I think that's what Sling does, but I'm not sure. My parents have it, but I've never used it. So that's not as good as what I thought. Like,
I guess the only thing that if you're not watching HBO or if you have access, and again HBO Go, as far as I understand, you still have to be a subscriber to HBO
Right.
through a cable.
Yep.
So if you don't care about HBO and Cinemax and all that stuff, something like this might be viable. $70 is for the maximum is not bad as far as the cable plan goes. But see, here's my concern about all these plans, whether it's Slingbox, View, or whatever. In my area, Comcast owns the lines that provide the cable. They came in and they bought up everything. So if I call up Comcast and I tell them, "Hey, guess what? I'm tired of paying this ridiculous amount of money for cable. I'm out." They say, "Okay, great. We're going to jack up your internet rate because you're no longer part of our cable plan, and we'll crank up your internet fee for another $50, another $60. So no, you don't need our cable, but we're going to ream you, to access the internet, and we know you're going to stick with us because all of your other options are subpar for streaming." So these things, when the companies own the infrastructure, there's only so much you're going to be able to do. Which is why I stick with my cable, because I know that it is, while it's not a guarantee, it is highly unlikely that I will be hit with data caps. And I know that if I drop everything and just get their internet plan, they're going to slap me with data caps.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
my internet provider just recently, last month, started data capping, and it's hugely annoying to say the least. I mean, I've never had cable, but I don't know I think they offer cable, but I don't know if it takes away the data cap. But
And right now, PlayStation View is only offered in New York City, Chicago, and Philadelphia.
oh, really? That's pretty limited.
Yeah. So, and again, Comcast, Time Warner, and you've had a couple of mergers. Verizon. All of these big conglomerates, they all own the infrastructure. So it makes it very difficult for plans like this to become really, in my opinion, viable options to cable, because if you want to see a Game of Thrones, guess what? You're going to have to subscribe to HBO. And you might as well stick with your cable company because that's the only way to get HBO Go. So they have you coming and going. It's at least to my knowledge, HBO Go has not gone independent of a cable provider. I may be wrong, but to my knowledge, it is still dependent on you being a subscriber, and as long as that exists, these streaming cable channels are going to have a limited appeal, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's I feel like the way everything's set up now is kind of holding back innovation on the internet front, just like you said, because you got the huge companies that own the lines, so they want to get as much money out of the traffic that goes through them as they can. And if you're not going to pay them for one service, you're for sure going to pay them for something else.
Right.
So.
And we can't forget what Comcast did to Netflix. They said, well, a lot of our people are trying to are dropping us because they prefer you guys. So guess what? We're going to throttle them down. And if you want to get them back to, their HD viewing, you're going to have to pay us some more money.
Yeah.
They're like mafia dons.
That does make sense, though, if they are running you out of business.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
the infrastructure, you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think Comcast is fine to lose some of their TV subscribers. I mean, they've got plenty of other avenues of income.
Yeah, but that's not how, someone
It's all about
that's
the money,
making,
dude.
Yeah, if you're making money and then you're all of a sudden losing money, there's a problem. It's not that you have other outlets that have money. It's that you're losing the money you once had.
Money at all when you're that big. That just doesn't look good to your investors. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to pull this. Comcast is a horrible company. I mean, that is why they switched to Xfinity, because the name Comcast was so despised among the people that subscribe to their service. And I've been a Comcast subscriber for many years. They're horrible company. If you have a problem, good luck trying to get somebody to even listen to your problem, let alone try and resolve it. It's just
That's another problem when the companies get too big.
Mm-hmm.
Big business. I could go on rants about that, but let's continue on.
I'll stop
Let's
there.
get down the rabbit hole.
So we talked a little bit, I think the last time, 2 weeks ago, we talked about PlayStation, about the cost of the service. The PlayStation Plus is cheaper than Xbox Live, right? How much
cheaper
is it?
as far as
the yearly subscription?
Yeah, as far as the core subscription, but the one thing that I think what Xbox has a lead in is that there's always a deal for Xbox Live for a year for $30, a year for $40.
I've seen some on the PlayStation, but yeah, you're right. It seems like it's a lot more often you see it for Xbox than you see for PlayStation.
So they are definitely pushing the discounts on the service a lot more. But on the other end, the free games that you get on PlayStation Plus is just is just redunculous, and they're basically someone coming onto the PlayStation console, being a first time PlayStation console owner. If they buy a PS4, they've got a ton of games that they don't have to buy.
Right.
If on PlayStation 3, if you go and pick up a PlayStation 3 right now and you get your PlayStation Plus subscription, there is a ton of software that you can play that you will not have to spend a dime extra. You have a built-in library for whatever system you have, and that's across the Vita, the PS3, and the PS4. So I can kind of give them a little slack for not having as many bonuses that Xbox Live has, because that's all one account that is supporting 3 different platforms.
And they're not crappy games either. I mean, it's like we've talked before. It's like brand new indie games will be free on PlayStation Plus, but they'll be like $15, $20 on Xbox.
And they're good games. I mean, 'cause like we talked about before, when they first started doing it, it was kind of like we said, like Halo 3 is always what comes to mind for me, because it's like it had been out for 6 years, and then they were like, "Hey, we want you to have Halo 3."
Yeah,
like
it's like who hasn't played that at this point?
But but we have to give Microsoft some slack too, because when PlayStation Plus was first announced, you were looking at that and say, okay, so I'm going to give you guys extra money so I can get firmware downloads that don't require me to have my system on. Yeah, that's money well spent. Things that they were getting for free on the 360 side. But once they started incorporating those games, and again, a lot of this stuff, Sony they were going to these publishers and saying, this is what our plan is. How are we going to get incorporate PlayStation Plus access for our customers for no extra amount of money? Are you willing to partake in that? So there was some money exchanging hands in order to get those top quality games. And I think that it probably caught Microsoft a little bit off guard, because PlayStation Plus, and I was a subscriber since day one, wasn't all that hot when it initially launched. It was, okay, I get my updates and, whatever else. I get some online storage for my saves. Wonderful. But it turned into what it is today over time, and making those deals. And I think it probably caught Microsoft a little bit off guard. And so that's why they had to start out with, Halo 3, because they had to go back to those publishers and those content creators and say, let's take a look at this in the light of what we want to do with games with gold. So that type of thing takes some time.
Yeah, it's a good different opinion than that I hadn't really considered before. But so do you think that the PlayStation Plus offerings kind of by itself makes up for a lot of the costs of the service itself?
Yeah, I do. Particularly when you consider it's across 3 platforms.
Yeah,
and they could have said, okay, and we're going to introduce this basic tier for this, and if you want Vita games, you can pay this much, and if you want PS4 games, you can pay this much. I mean, they could have taken it that route, but one account across 3 different platforms, that's pretty cool. And every month you get something on all 3.
Yeah, that's something I do like a lot about PlayStation's infrastructure over Xbox's, is all their stuff is so integrated, and it just translates smoothly. Like we were talking about earlier, streaming stuff from your home console onto your PlayStation TV box. I mean, that's like Xbox just doesn't have anything like that. At least not now. Maybe they will when Windows 10 comes out. But
Windows 10 may change a whole lot for us. That'll be a good. I don't know when that's. Anybody know when that's slated?
It's supposed to be end of this year.
Okay.
That's just,
I thought
just end of the year.
it wasn't end of summer for
Uh,
Windows 10.
I'm not sure.
I would prefer it to be end of summer. That would be great. I think it'd be the only problem with end of year is that you're having all of the new gamers, the Christmas
Bundles.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll
everybody from
probably be
Christmas,
out
it'll
before then, like before Black Friday. Everybody buying new consoles will just have it as part of their day one update. So it might be like fall, late fall, something like that. I don't know. Let's talk about the hard drive management on PlayStation 4. Have you messed with that at all, Kevin?
I upgraded my hard drive to 1 terabyte when I first purchased the system day one, and I haven't had to go back and do anything.
Did you do the actual internal swap out?
I did the internal swap, which is super easy. The hardest thing, I mean, the Xbox One is even easier. You just plug in an external drive and bingo bango, there you go.
Right, but that's just one other thing that's got to sit on your whatever.
Yeah, but it was easy on the PlayStation 3, but it's even easier on the PS4. You just pull back that little piano plastic looking thing, and one screw, your hardware cage is out. You pull out the drive that came with it, put in a new one, put it back in, slap in a USB with the folders that you need, and you're up and running in no time. That was the first thing I did with my system. Yeah, that was the first thing I did with my system, because I knew 500 gigs, knowing that every game is going to physically install on the hard drive, 500 gigs wasn't going to last me any amount of time whatsoever. And, I was able to do that in about 7 minutes.
Yeah,
the only thing you have to
sorry.
be cautious about, and I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
You have to be cautious about is that there's a file that you have to rename once you create your folders on your USB drive. And if you don't pay attention, because it's right there on Sony's website, they tell you what it is. But if you don't rename that file, the firmware won't transfer from your USB to the console. That's really the only thing, and that was my fault because it was plain as day on Sony's website. I just didn't pay attention to it. You have to rename a file, and it's just a matter of, changing the name. And once you do that, everything goes over. It's buttery smooth. So
is the hard drive that you put in there, is it a proprietary piece of hardware, or can you just buy
any laptop, I forget the exact dimensions, but just about any laptop hard drive will work, including hybrid drives and SSDs. Although you're really not going to see that big of a performance gain by using an SSD over a standard 5200 RPM drive. I stuck with the same. I went from. I didn't up the speed of my drive because I was concerned about having a faster spinning drive might generate more heat. So I stuck with a 5200 RPM drive. That was just my decision. Other people have gone on to like the 7200 RPMs and have not had a problem. But I just wanted to keep the core, specs of what Sony put in the drive equivalent, regardless of what brand I put in there. So I got a 1 terabyte for $40 on Amazon at the time because they had I think Samsung had a sale on Amazon, and I was able to get that for $40 and haven't looked at it since.
PlayStation can also use external drives, right?
I think with this last software firmware update, that I think it's only for if you're going to upgrade your hard drive you can pull all your saves, all your game data, all your stored games and put them on an external drive and then load them from that external drive back onto your console. But that's it.
So you can't use it as
it's not like the Xbox One. It's that functionality is also the same way it was on the PS3. In fact, you had to have an external drive to offload all of your game data and all that, unless you just didn't want that game data anymore and we're going to reload it, at a later time. But yeah, it's that same functionality now. The external drive now works as a holding spot for your data until your new hard drive's in the system.
Taylor,
Yes.
you haven't done anything like that with yours, right?
No, and the only reason I haven't done anything like that is because I haven't necessarily seen the need for it yet, just because...
How many games do you have?
Right now I have... Oh, the controller just fell off. I have Borderlands, and then I have Battlefield as disc games for my PS4. But I also have The Last of Us installed onto the hard drive, digitally downloaded. So I mean,
So you don't have really much to.
I don't really have much space to fill, I don't really have much things to fill my space. So I haven't really seen the need for it just yet. I mean, once Uncharted comes out and like the games start rolling out towards the end of the year.
Well, how much is your hard drive full with the games that are on it right now?
Right now, you want to check? Okay, I'll check. Hold on.
Yeah, mine on the Xbox, I ran out of space about a year after I got it, about a year after it released, and that was with me deleting a lot of the games that I had traded and like arcade games or digital games that I didn't play anymore. I deleted a lot of stuff just to try to stay afloat, but it kind of got to the point where I'm just like, I don't really want to delete anything else. So I went and bought a 2 terabyte drive. Now the internal drive I'm looking at right now on the Xbox, it's only actually 364.9 gigabytes. I guess all the rest of it's reserved for like the OS and other processes like that. So, I mean, that's 136 gigabytes already that's just gone. That's like 2, maybe 3 games in itself. But I went and bought a 2 terabyte drive, and literally all I had to do was just plug the USB in, and that was it. And I'm only at like 25% total used right now, and I have a lot of stuff on there, and I've got a good ways to go. So it's definitely with these consoles, definitely something that you do need to do. I think I may have preferred having an internal drive, but it doesn't make that big of a difference, I guess. I mean, I could always use the external one on my PC if I got something different or something were to change.
If they would benefit from SSD, like if you could put, in a computer, you put like 120 gig SSD with your operating system on it, and you put a few other things on it, maybe like a game or two, your system's going to run so fast it's ridiculous. And then you put your terabyte storage or whatever, you put that on the side, and that's where you would download most of your stuff, but it keeps your computer running super fast in that regard. So if Xbox or PlayStation would actually benefit from that, I would definitely see the need for the internal to be like, that would be my reasoning for replacing it. Other than that, like, especially since Kevin said earlier, the SSD really doesn't do much for the PlayStation. There's really not a need for it at this time.
I think some games like Resogun load faster, but it's not, in my opinion, it's just not worth the price difference.
Right.
For for upgrading to an SSD. Unless you want to be big baller shot caller. Hey, I've got an SSD in my console. But,
Yeah, it's like $500 for like a 960
crazy.
gig solid state right now.
I looked at them when I was building my desktop, and it was ridiculous. The price difference between the standard drives and the SSD drives is like, I think I'll be all right with just the regular one.
I will tell you, having a hybrid is nice. My dad has one in his computer, and solid state super fast, normal hard drive slow in comparison, and so basically the hybrid literally just evens it out, and so it runs at a lot faster speed than a regular read speed for a hard drive, but it slows the solid state down a little bit. But it is worth it if you were able to find a good deal on one of those right now. It is pretty nice.
So Taylor, how much space have you used?
All right, well, so this is what I have installed games for. So I have three disc games, or 2 disc games, and then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 digital games installed. And I have 310 gigabytes left.
Well, that's pretty good. That's probably more than the Xbox would have.
One of those games being my ultra rare PT demo that's worth like $2,000. So, whatever.
You need to sell that thing, man.
I know, right?
Make some money.
yeah, just better move to Craigslist because eBay will yank them off.
Oh, really?
What is it?
Yeah.
You know,
Silent
you know the
Hills?
game Silent Hills. You know the game that got canceled.
Yeah.
There was a demo that they put out on Sony when they released like the verbal announcement at E3. They put it out, and it's called PT, and it's just like a little like teaser demo.
Stands for playable teaser.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but once they canned the game, they took the demo off the PlayStation Store. But consoles that still have that game installed on the hard drive are selling for like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000.
Oh my word!
And I have it, so.
All it takes is one kid deleting it. There goes $2,000. So you better sell that.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing, though. That's linked to your account.
Yeah, and I would never give it away.
You're going to have to, unless, pull off your credit card information and, suspend, hey, I'm no longer playing under this PlayStation ID. All of that software is attached to your own account.
Right.
So.
No, I mean, I'm not
they're
going to
buy
rid of
it.
But.
They're going to buy it, and then that's such a ripoff. They don't even get to play it. It's on there, but you can't play it.
Exactly. Unless they get the seller's account information. So, hey guys, I'm no longer hot and sexy 420. I'm,
I'm still
I'm
that.
this guy. So.
All right, that was all like the main topics that we had. Are there any other major drawbacks or disadvantages of the PlayStation 4, Kevin, that you can think of besides kind of what we've already talked about?
I would say the only con that I've come across, and it really has to do with the network, the up and downs of PSN can be a little bit problematic at times.
Just how PSN was down for the last 2 days, like spotty.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was for me. It was I had limited access last night. It became full. I had full access later on, about maybe like 11:30 last night. I had full access, but I couldn't even start a party chat. But I could go into the store. I could start a game, and if I wanted to play Destiny, I just had to try and hit the relog in about 5-6 times, and it would let me in. That type of thing is annoying. I think they're trying to learn because this is really the first Sony's first console where interconnectivity is a big part of the system. Where Xbox 360, it was even on the original Xbox, that was a big integral part of that console. And of course,
Xbox
Microsoft
Live has always been huge on the Xbox.
Yeah, and Microsoft being a software OS company, they've had that stuff on lock for a long time. This is kind of sort of still new territory for Sony. One more thing, I think the reason that the PS4 is as connected as it is, this is the first console designed by an American. The guy that created what was that? As a teenager, he built crystal castles for Atari for their arcade division. Mark Cerny, that's his name. Mark Cerny designed the PS4 from the ground up for Sony, and the reason that it is Western friendly as it is with regards to connectivity, that type of thing, access, being connected to the people on your friends list, has a huge part is because of his influence. And he is the first American to design a console for this traditionally Japanese company. So that's why it is the way it is. But they still need to up their internet game and make the PSN more solid. I mean, Xbox Live goes down as well, but they're not down nearly as long as PlayStation Network is when these massive drops take place. So
right,
that's definitely something they need to work on. But other than that, I really don't have any. I can't think of any cons for it. That's a big one, but I can't think of any other issues.
It's all right.
And from being a PlayStation owner, I mean, that is true in that regard. But besides that, I mean, even then, I don't really know if I could even really come up with any huge major complaints. Besides, I mean, really none. I don't think there are any. Oh, I want to I did want to say that I don't know if we mentioned this before, but in case we didn't, I think it's ridiculous that Xbox doesn't come with a microphone, but the PlayStation does.
What? Xbox comes with a microphone?
I didn't have one.
Yeah.
Mine did.
Wait, did mine have one? Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. It does come with one, but I had my story backwards. I'm so sorry.
The PlayStation doesn't?
No, Sony does, but the one they comes with is, like, garbage, in my opinion. So that was my complaint. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I can kind of let them slide on that because the controller takes any 3.5 millimeter
3.5 millimeter
jack.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I can just pull my headphones from my iPod and slap them in
anywhere.
I'm right. Chatting.
Well, that's the same. I feel like
that they put in there was kind of cheap. I would have thought they would have just included the headphones that came with the Vita. I mean, they were of higher quality than what they included in the PS4, and you're paying $400. What it was at the time, it was $400 for the unit, and that was kind of chintzy. But because they had that 3.5 jack on the controller, it's like, well, there you go. To my knowledge, I think the Xbox One still requires an adapter.
Yes,
for
it does.
Yes, it does. Yep, and the PlayStation does not.
I feel like it's kind of the same disadvantage that the PS3 had, because with the PS3 you could buy any Bluetooth headset that you wanted and connect to the console. So what that meant was somebody that wanted to could go out and buy something that was nice, but most people are just going to buy like the cheapest one they can get, and it's going to sound like just total garbage.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the case. I mean, iPod headphones aren't very low quality, but still, I don't see how that could be on par with like the headset that comes in the box with the Xbox.
a lot of that also has to do with the network itself. With the last major update from people that I interact with on Twitter that have both consoles, they are saying that the chat has improved on the PlayStation Network with I think it was like update 2.5. With the last major update that they did, that the chat quality went up. In my opinion, it wasn't bad, but since I don't have an Xbox, I didn't have anything to compare it to. But they're saying that the quality of the chat has improved heavily. Also, the PS3, a lot of that interactivity, what little you could do, a lot of that had to be implemented through the game itself.
Yeah, there wasn't any party
there
chat.
really was no easy way of connecting to people on your friends list to chat. There were workarounds. I used to, me and a couple of my friends, when we get together, play Street Fighter 3 online, we do workarounds within the system, but it's not it was not nearly as cohesive and easy to implement as it was on 360. Just hit a button, go to your friends, hey, connect, bang, there you go.
Right.
A lot of that is provided by the software.
I will say though that I've experienced more issues with my Xbox Live Party Chat than I have with my PSN Party Chat. So,
like since it's been up, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because I mean, especially as of late, and I don't know why. I don't know if an update that Microsoft put out on the console screwed the chat up or what. But
well, they might have been preparing for the dedicated party chat servers. So, but yeah, recently, within the past month or so, I'd say it's been really rough as far as connecting. But
like annoyingly rough.
I don't know if that dedicated server update is out now. I think it is. I think that was part of this month's update. But hopefully that fixes that issue.
Yeah, so.
Well,
Tanner, what are your thoughts?
Oh, sorry.
He's
playing Infinity Blade, isn't he?
No,
he's just chilling. Tanner's been quiet. He's been listening. I didn't know if he had anything.
A learning.
No, sorry. It's not like I'm not the techie person here, so I just the only thing of PlayStation I like is Ratchet and Clank and Kingdom Hearts. So I'm pretty much.
Tanner's like our sideline judge.
Oh god, that sounded so scary.
Yeah, he's got the Robo voice again. I'm gonna leave that in the podcast because that was funny.
Oh my god, that was
when Skype fails.
I feel like I need to go to confession. I don't even go to confession. That was so scary. It was so freaking weird.
I'm sorry about that.
That was good.
You know what? A quick aside. The one of the coolest features. I'm an old guy, so I the smallest thing can make me reminisce about something. One of the coolest features on the Sega Saturn console was that when you put a CD in, it had like all these different kinds of like voice filters that you could use. And if you ever want to hear something horrifying, you put in the Village People, a Village People CD into a Sega Saturn, and you go into and I forget the option that they called it in the playback, but it sounds like a demon choir singing. It is like the most horrific thing, Stairway to Heaven being played backwards, got nothing on the Village People being played with that Sega Saturn filter on it. It was like, oh my goodness gracious, it sounds horrific. But yeah, sorry. That reminded me of that.
All right, Kevin, why don't you plug your stuff and then we can get out of here.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me on.
It was awesome.
I am a fan of your show, and as I mentioned in my email, it is because it is so hard to find some gaming-related podcasts that you can actually play on your work computer. I don't have too much of a problem with language, but you can't have that stuff playing at your work, in your workspace.
Right.
And I also appreciate that you guys are Christians. So I think that's an influence that is sorely lacking in gaming and geek culture in general. I've found that a lot of it is openly hostile to, in particularly the Christian faith, and it's just nice to hear some believers just getting together and just having fun with their hobby and expressing their likes, dislikes, and joys with regard to that under that umbrella of faith. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing.
Thank you. Are you a Christian, Kevin?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, that's something I was going to mention about your show too. Is I don't think everybody on there is a believer, so that's it's kind of another testament to kind of the different viewpoints that everybody comes together on, and they can still have a civil discussion. So I appreciate that about your show as well.
But our show is GamerHusbands Radio. I am a co-host of that along with Sam, aka GHR Superman, Rick, who is Dragon 59, our senior member, that's Rick, and Chris, aka Lefty Brown, who also hosts the Married Gamers and You Lose podcasts, and my good friend Joe, aka Joe Fongul on Twitter, and Trader Joe, as he's known on the show. And we record every week, and we're just a group of married gentlemen who get together and we talk about games, and sometimes we talk about some life experiences and other interests kind of filter in. I'm somewhat of a car guy, so every now and then I'll see something about muscle cars that really grabs my attention. I'll mention that. But we record every Tuesday, and we are out on all the major podcast aggregates, iTunes, what is it? Stitcher. Yeah, Stitcher. That's the one I was trying to come up with. Pretty much just about all of them were there. So we're a clean podcast for the most part. I would like to be able to say that I have never said a foul word on the show, but that is not entirely true. But we all keep the language in check. So it is definitely something that a show that you can listen to with the kids around, or folks with preferences to not hear that type of language. You should be okay. So
all right. And you are at shownuff_71 on Twitter. If anybody wants to follow.
Actually, there is no underscore.
Underscore on Twitter.
Yeah, the only place there's an underscore is on Skype for whatever reason. So I'm shownuff_71 on Skype. I am shownuff7 on PSN, and I am at shownuff71 on Twitter.
All right. And if anybody wants to give us feedback, we're on Twitter at the New Leaf Crew. You can also send us an email like Kevin did at thenewleafcrew@gmail.com, and let us know anything we can improve on or any other suggestions. But other than that, we can get out of here.
This was awesome. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah,
this was a
thanks.
blast.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on, guys. Really dig it. We're going to have you guys on our show.
Well, only I can go because I'm the only married person here, but
It doesn't matter. Hey, when I came on, it was the Gamer Husbands, and by that time I had only been married for a few months when I first started doing the show. So it doesn't matter, single, and that's another thing. Single, married, doesn't matter. That's just the name of the show. It has nothing to do with any requirements to either be a guest on the show or be a listener. So
I'm going to go get married so I can be on a podcast. Yes.
No,
hey, actually, that's probably a pretty good reality TV.
Yeah, exactly.
I got married for.
It sounds as bad as every other show on TV. So.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to my highly collectible toys here. So.
Tanner, marry your Transformers, and then we'll
No,
have a podcast.
no. I play with them or collect them and display them. I don't do that.
Exactly,
That's fine.
just like trophy wives. So come on.